Hello, I just wanted to pop in. Adrienne Elise here, talk to you about November 4th, today, right now, here. Powerful energies with Saturn turning direct today and Venus in opposition to Neptune. So I thought it might be a good opportunity to check in and chat about what's happening in the energies. We're feeling an intense pull in polarity as we're coming to this very powerful moment of a timeline split or reconciliation, we should call it. And the astrology lines up with this as Saturn is turning direct. Saturn will not make it, Saturn is at 0 degrees Pisces, will not make it to 1 degree Pisces until the end of the month. And so we're in 0 point. And the energy is just really powerfully asking us to be really present with what it is we want to create in our energy, where we want to put our vibration. Um, and it would make sense that just before a big shift with this Saturn turning direct, a restart, reset of the Christ consciousness timeline, that there would be a birth of the darkness. And we're definitely seeing this all over the movie. The story that's being painted for us is deeply disturbing in the psyche. And supernova souls are so sensitive to collective energies. In fact, without even being aware of it, you are often processing and transmuting the energies around you. And so there's a call to reach out and feel into each other, and that we're all doing this work together, and how crucial this time in this moment is, how crucial each and every one of you, supernova soul, is as we have this turning point. So what's coming up around this turning point is that and the geometry and the math and the transition procession of the seasons and the equinoxes, the shift of ages, everything is all lining up to tell us that this time is a majorly shifting time. And so astrologically, we are getting this message and confirmation as well, with Saturn retrograding in Pisces, retrograding back to 0 degrees Pisces, a new start, that 0 point, turning direct today. So it feels like there's this bloom and this pull of the darkness of like twist and a turn in the timeline realities that have is preventing us or is seeking to prevent us from leaping off into the new energies. And it's like we couldn't really find this twist until we went into the center of this spiral. But I just wanted to speak a little bit of this energy today because I know supernova souls are feeling it, and then open it up to questions and just have a moment to focus in our divine time to choose our energy by working with our collective consciousness together today, and feeling each other. Supernova souls, part of what's really coming up around this twist that needs to get resolved. Um, and it's interesting because it's actually showing us how timelines, because part of the question in this live today was about what is going on if we're having a timeline split? What is a timeline? What in the heck are we even talking about? You know, and through my work, I've never been certain of a timeline split. I feel like that's not quite exactly accurate. Um, and so in my work, what's come through with asking the question, what is a timeline? It's a vibrational frequency. And the timeline resets that happen in the soul group sessions are about going back in time to another vibration, where another time in your timeline where you were more able to access a vibration that you're not able to access right now. So maybe that's in store for us today. I can feel that there might be an energy for a timeline alignment. And we know that we can feel into the truth that our timelines have been obstructed with through traumatic events. You know, and this is kind of what's coming forward. Can we just unwind the Piscean age and restart, like claim the magic and heal and the miracles, move out of the trauma of the past with Saturn turning direct at 0 degrees Pisces? That's the message, that's the energy. But can we do that without correcting some distortions, you know? And this is the kind of thing, there's like a twist. And it makes me think of the whole symbology of what, and really a lot of us are kind of coming to understand this energy of like Satan, which is also associated, well, it's kind of comes as a root from Saturn. Um, and we could look at it metaphorically as the horns of creation being turned and twisted, right? Where we should have rays. We have rays that go out from our head and they create that halo shape that you see depicted in many masters. And so the Saturn energy, or the black cube, the lower dimensional frequency distortions that have kept us trapped for so long, have to do with the curling or twisting of those rays, these beams of light, and that's the symbol of the horns of that energy. And so that's exactly what I'm seeing in this timeline. Like, it wants to unwind in this beautiful possibility. There's this spiritual energy available to us, this Christ consciousness right here, but there's something going on that is like this trap. Like, I mean, it's making me think of plumbing. It's like where you have a trap. The trap is designed to catch things so they don't go further down, right? So we get that shit out of there right now, so we can leap off into our highest frequency. There's lots of these things that have like need correction, and this is indeed what you've been doing, not even realizing, traveling to other timelines and correcting your story. No wonder, it's been such a strange time for us. And so this correction has to do with the Christ consciousness timeline, meaning that that started, or it didn't actually start, but it became more evident at the time of the last shift of ages. And so when we moved into the Piscean age, we had a bloom of this Pisces energy. And then that energy was twisted. This collective consciousness, this ability to feel into spiritual energies. That's what the Piscean age brought. And then the control forces said, we're going to use that to control humanity, the oneness consciousness, by creating trauma and drama. And, so it's really interesting that the lightest light, this Christ impulse, with the story of Yeshua, became has become a very dark and empty thing in a lot of areas. The name and the story and the church and what's been done in the name of Christ, which is totally not in alignment. And how can we have this Christ consciousness rebirth of the Christ consciousness timeline, which is the mother timeline? It's like it's our organic, beautiful unfolding, while we have such distortions going on in the name of the light, you know, and how so much has been taken, and the burden of those of us who are part of that story, and how dark things had to get, and the grief. And one of the main energies that came forward from our experiences during that time, 'cause so many supernova souls were incarnate at the time of the last shift of ages for the Christ event, because it wasn't just one person. It was a whole group of people, whole villages, whole tribes for thousands of years, but for hundreds of years, for documented at least 100 years, preparing for this event. And so there was a lot of us involved in that whole experience, which was basically like demonstrating the mystery of transmutation of physical form, and the deepest secret mystery school information demonstrated to the world. And so there was this energy of all of this light and all of this beauty and all this heart-centered energy of forgiveness and love, and the original teachings just completely twisted. And it's like that's the twist we're dealing with right now. And so it's the distortions of the Christ mythology and the darkness that has kept us in that darkness. Um, because those of us who feel connected to this light, which is just the light, it's just Christ consciousness. And my asking about what this means, Christ light, Christ consciousness is just palpable, accessible spiritual energy right here in our realm. And it comes through the heart. It's not an outside thing that we go seek for. It's our light body. It like is awakening right now in our heart. It's a lot of what your problem is, you know? Um, and so how do we go forth in this light while there's all this distortion around? There's like a cloak and a heaviness around. It's like something's trying to break free in this timeline alignment, but the energies of this chokehold are kind of pulling down this energy of because of this twist and turn. And so the issues that are coming forward around this have to do for supernova souls in your life right now is a lot about secrecy contracts that you made in that time and how we agreed to disperse. So, what's being shown to me is that metaphorically or really, if you want to look at it either way, the story of what happened with Yeshua at the beginning of the Piscean age is rewinding. So basically, we are going back through the crucifixion, and that's what's happening right now. And we then are going to be coming back to the light, to the teachings, to the healing, to the traveling, to the groups, to coming back together. So we're like going backwards. I don't know. It's very strange, but this is kind of the way it is at the shift of ages. So, but it's just, I wanted to share that with you because I know so many supernova souls are feeling so isolated and so alone. So today we can examine these energies of contractual arrangements, belief systems that you made that honor your group, honor your tribe, that are around saying staying away from each other and staying in secret because we've got to adjust this. And that's our part of the adjustment. But are we carrying shame over how much we it's almost like those supporters and followers of Yeshua and Jesus on his path could be feeling guilt and shame over how wrong, like as we come out of this dark sleep of like how wrong it got, in the name of the light. And I would think that Yeshua, as a human soul in his human experience, would have felt overwhelming responsibility of how much the teachings he brought got used to control humanity. And so this is part of our destiny is rewriting and correcting this story. And the accessibility of that spiritual Christ consciousness light in all of us, like we're all having the experience that Jesus did. Um, it's the story of enlightenment. He showed us we could do and more. And so it's like we're slowed down in this slow motion, going back through the moments of the crucifixion and the whole story around everything that's so wrong and so twisted. Um, and so, this is what's coming forward for us today. And so I just wanted to bring this forward and say that you are um, playing a very important role in holding the dynamic energy of what's possible in the light. Whether you identify with this story or not, we need to be very present with what we're doing here. The whole world wants us distracted into lower energy vibrations. And for supernova souls, it's so depressing and it's so not real. And it's so frightening to be awake and alive in an energy of people who are not um, present to what's happening. And we have these precious moments. So I just want to come together and say, hey, we're living in a precious moment. You're important. Your vibration's important. We're important together. And let's check out where we're at, a focus session on this 4th of November. May the 4th be with you because it's such a powerful day in astrology. So I wanted to know that I feel you, I hear you, and I know we're so connected. So let me know in the chat if you have any specific questions, um, and we'll explore some stuff. Just let me know in the chat if there's anything you want to talk about. Um, So, yeah, Michael's talking about how he's been hiding out for 2 years, and I think that's powerful timeline for us. Um, one of the things that happens in these timeline times is that, um, there's this picture of being able to access work you did at an earlier time, like, there's these different cycles. And I've heard recently, like the 8-year period of time is very powerful. Like what you do in 8 years then comes through. And we're kind of at this place over lifetimes where we're able to access what we've done and to benefit us now. Um, and yet we're also in, are you feeling this like, at least over the last couple of days, like a timeline war? Like, it's like just taking a lot of energy to stay in a positive vibration, and I think that's because we are so close to the shift, but remember, that's the other message that coming through is that it's like, of course, we're gonna have a bloom of the oppression right before the tables are turned, and, everything that is being done negatively or on any level, or blocking or on any level is boomeranging back towards the light, and so um, we are a part of that boomerang. So just know that the pressure, it's like that pressure that's purifying and bringing us to a place where, for mother, right now, she wants us with her every step of the way. She wants us like completely out of time and space, like in the story. She wants us just right here with her. And, I guess that's really how the ultimate shift and the healing of the timeline has to do with the mother and the feminine and coming back to her, because you cannot control a populace who feels that they're connected to source. And that comes through our connection to the mother and our physical reality. Her body is our body. And, I am getting a picture of supernova souls. We've always seen ourselves connecting with each other in the activations and meditations, um, breathing together, you know? And I kind of feel that our field is now able to be around the whole earth, and we can literally tap into this field, the supernova field around the whole earth, and just breathe together. We can all feel that we're going through this portal, this intense time of transformation, and yet there's this feeling of being more stuck than ever. I mean, oh, and that's kind of the spiraling into this timeline, but we're about to trajectory out, and we want to be right in the right place in our heart and soul to take that highest trajectory. And so these are the messages that are coming through. Um, we're monks living in the city, said Joanne. Yes, for sure. And Um, it's interesting, Star says she was like, when she has to drive for a long time in the car, she feels stuck and imprisoned. And I think this is really powerful because a lot of people would feel like, oh, you're gonna go get in a car and go somewhere, then that's freedom. you know? Um, but we are all coming up against wherever we felt imprisoned. That's definitely this dark bloom that's happening right now. And the only way to truly imprison us as souls is through our core wound. So that's on the table. It's just so intense with this Scorpio energy and aligning up. We had in the sky, we've got um, Mercury and the sun, and Mercury or Mars. So the sun, Mars, and the sun, Mercury, Mars lined up together. And the Sun and Mercury are no longer in conjunction officially, now coming into a conjunction, but we're feeling the Sun come into a Mars conjunction. And so it's really powerful to have this lining up in Scorpio. because it's facing the darkness around who we are, really. So, everything we've been talking about. Where are we carrying shame and feelings of failure around our role at the last shift of ages? I don't know. It's pretty wild. Lisa says, how do we finally heal these core wounds? That's a really good question. Let me know what you think. Um, I think it's so important because the message that's come through, Lisa, is that we the like I've said, to get rid of the triggers, to get rid of all mind control, get rid of any way that anybody could ever mess with you, is to heal the trigger, to heal the trauma that gets triggered. All programming is trauma based, right? It is really powerful to find that core wound, and identify it. Um, and but as far as like how we totally heal it, I guess it's this bigger picture of recognizing, because this is where we're really at now, right? It's like this, like people saying, I don't belong here. This isn't my world. What the hell am I doing here? And it's like we are. It's up to us whether we stay trapped. Okay, so this is a bloom of the oppression energy, the compression, some people feeling it very physically in their body. We are stuck in too low of a dimension for us, and we're activating. This is the strange thing. This is a little bit on a side note. I'll get back to that, but I was thinking about, in metaphor, back to this last shift of ages and what was going on. Um, After the Christ event, all of his followers were, hunted down, basically, right? Like, and everybody, that's where they had to disperse, and they agreed to not be anywhere near each other, to stay safe and to keep the light safe, right? And so then we went on after that and incarnated, and a lot of us, every time we incarnated, got anywhere close to that light, we were persecuted. And then we could go be monks up in the hills, in the Himalayas or whatever, and go, be in our energy of, are isolated and safe in that way. Um, and now look at where we are. First of all, we're all alone. Each of most of us are like, don't have supernova souls around us to validate and work with on these energies. And we're in the city, like most of us are around other people, and yet not really feeling like there's anybody there. Um, and we're having to negotiate the fact that our light is coming on, you know, and nothing can stop it. And it's excruciating process, because it feels like if people recognize that this is happening to you, they're going to kill you. Like, it's a primal fear comes up. And yet, so we're in this dance of like trying to regulate. And a lot of the pain that supernova souls are going through is the turning down of your light in order to get through, where, and on the other side of that, the pain of the not being able to express that light. Now, on that note, that's kind of an answer to the core wound, because when we're in our core wound, we're immobilized, we're weak, we're trapped. We're vulnerable. I mean, I know that feeling. Um, when we're expressing, then that those energies are so different, you know. But we have to understand how weird it is and how incredibly psychically stressful it is for us to be like, the more we come into ourselves and get through to try to survive. Like, the thing is we need to go to light body to survive. And so we're here turning on our light, and yet in an environment that in the past has been, you know, not safe, fundamentally unsafe. So just to understand what we're going through, it's like, it's and it's, if you think about it, it's all a replay of those persecutions, and we're going backwards. We're going backwards through the persecutions, rewriting the story back to the event, and then we travel around with our brothers and sisters, bringing the healing and the light, and true freedom. So, Emily was talking about a war between the potentials and the timelines. This is so huge right now. I feel like there's a little bit of a dance going on of this regret. This is part of these twists and turns. It's the regret energy. So I think it doesn't have to do necessarily with your timelines right now as much as something from the past, because we can't really miss what we need to do. It's not possible. But we've been so distracted from what's best for us, again and again. um, so as we come back to the light that we are, just like this coming back to Christ consciousness and understanding our connection to it, it's like, oh, God, this went so wrong, and yet things had to play out. We know it had to play out. We know, can we come to terms with it had to be this way? Is this um because it's really about coming back into the light and into the glory with full permission and full expression. Um, so Backroad Beat says how to stand in authority. It's a really good question. I haven't talked about this yet, but I recently came across this information around the Essenes and this whole thing that's themes that are coming up right now, which were the cultures that were part of supporting the mystery event, the Christ mystery event. And they would use vibrations and frequency, but sound as defense. So you got to get your beats on, back road beats, right? And this is where it's come through a lot for supernova souls. Um, a mantra, an energy, a vibration, a song that is something that you can like put your whole heart and soul into, even in your mind, or sing it out loud. I think that music and like that expression of any level is when you're expressing that the judgment can't come in, the negative forces can't come in, the distractions can't come in because it's like it's just going out. And this is our next phase, when we're moving into this next phase, it's all about expression. And so it feels like creative expression and frequency, vibration, sound, our best protection right now, the best way to stand in our power. So the horn brought down the walls of Jericho. Tafrina says chanting is what saves me. Yep. Why are we not born monks within this lifetime? There's a very powerful energy that's come through around the fact that maybe on a soul level, it's really difficult what supernova souls are going through right now and being so isolated. But did your soul on some level choose that? You know? And were there other lifetimes where all you wanted was to be alone in your spiritual experience of connection? So that's something that's coming up. But if we're in monks up in the hills, we're not affecting the masses. And that's what we came here to do this time. So um Alice in Wonderland says, how can we turn away from the darkness? It doesn't seem right and it's impossible to not feel. Well, the thing is that like it's real. I know we're all battling on this level, a cellular level is really what's going on. Um, and yet that what's creating the darkness is doesn't have a source of power of its own. So light is always stronger. And that shit we can pull the plug on, which is what's happening. So um of course, where we put our attention, this is so hard because there's a psychological component to this game, where forces are like literally, it's real, it's true. I know people would say you're crazy for thinking the way you've been messed with, but it's just so real and true. And yet we have to be like, not in my reality. They can be turned off. Their technology can be refracted back to them. We're the boss, we're in charge. We have the authority of this realm as human souls in a body. And so now we stand in it. And that's just affirming and confirming this light. And it's not always easy, and then we get into this place of feeling bad about it and stuff. But um, those of us who have gone on the darkest journey have the most light inside to share. So that's just what's going on. We're being we're being formed in the fires, the crucible of this experience, and prepared for the next chapter. And so the burning away, you know, and so vibrationally, we have to come to a place where we understand through our God-given right. This is a powerful statement that's helped me a lot. Um, Something along the lines of, by the power vested in me as a sovereign human soul, I hereby proclaim, and then you can add whatever you want. Um, but every way, the frequencies, everything that's trying to affect us has to have access to our energy field. And so by our growing our magnetic field, and there's just so many different ways to do that. That would be a good topic. Um, But singing, music is one of them, dancing, when 2 or more, this is the main thing. We just gotta have 2 or more of us. We gotta find another supernova soul, you know? Um, yeah, so Joanne says, "I have a lot of light to share for sure," and that is the energy of this, frequency of, like, that what your real problem is that what is inside of you hasn't been able to come out. And I know it's really hard, so it's like we can kind of move into, I feel like, a little meditation, a practice of this timeline alignment, um, where we can work with the untwisting of this twist, which has to do with supernova souls, our role in the last shift of ages, and covenants we made too, contractual arrangements around secrecy and isolation. The big energy that's coming up right now is exile, right? So maybe this is part of our deal. We're feeling that we could turn on our light, but then there's this fear programming. And part of that has to do with the basic getting our basic human needs met and being a part of the tribe. In times on the planet where it wasn't so easy to go to the grocery store, get what we need, we were beholden to our tribal acceptance by the people around us for our needs and our survival. And so exile meant that you were, had to fight for everything that you needed, and feel totally rejected. And this is like part of the energy that's coming up around the twists that need to be untwisted so that we can let the Christ consciousness light come into our body and have that incarnation process, this light landing home. It's happening. It's happening. We are walking a fine line between massive spiritual light and encroaching darkness. And it's not that, I mean, we're being asked to be present with the optimal possibilities and timeline, but we can't do it wrong either. We can't fail. We've already proclaimed our power. Humanity has already stood up. I mean, we still have to have it play out, but nothing can stop this awakening. But we want the best and highest, easiest trajectory, and we want all as many souls as possible. I guess I'm just getting this message that we're taking all souls with us on this other timeline, and all true human souls. And we don't know exactly what that means. There's just so much that we don't know and understand. But we're being asked to. So on the one hand, it's like, so this is what the feeling coming up. I think it's the Scorpio energy of like grief and regret. You know, And the Saturn turning, and it's just like this, the gears of time have been so stopped and so rusted up, and it's like it's kind of painful to turn this wheel again. Um, because of these twists and turns and distortions and residue. of the darkness that's happened in the name of the light, the darkness that's happened to us, the shame we carry about being the light, you know? So it's all getting unraveled. Can you just feel it? It's like, and it's coming up as this deep regret and these timelines. It's like all these timelines resolving. And so, yeah, we have to be really careful with the energies right now as far as the gloom and doom. I mean, it's really important to know what's going on, but those of us who have faced that stuff individually have realized that we cannot dwell because we have the solution. There's a solution to all, and we cannot dwell on the agendas that seek to bring us down. And we have to be in the light of the solution, which just sounds weird because, like, what? It's nuclear war and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, and you just are going to go sing some songs? Yeah, exactly. And find some people to sing some songs with. So this is where we're at. Yes, there for this timeline trajectory, we want to be in the energy of what's possible. you know so excited about what is coming, and we know, and it comes back to that expression. And so basically, coming back to your question, was it Linda, about the core wound? We heal that through our expression. So maybe it's hard to find somebody to talk to that you can trust to talk to about these things, but you could write it down and really bring it, really express it. And then under that is more creative expression that wants to come forward in some way. Um, and so when we're expressing ourselves creatively in co creation, then we are healing our wound and the wound of everyone right now. I think a lot of supernova souls are feeling the collective consciousness of the agenda to disconnect us from source. And it's like I said, it's the exile feeling. And it's really interesting because this is one of the core programs with spiritual ascension that happened from past lives in ancient Egypt gone wrong or deliberately sabotaged. There's a programming, a deep and profound programming that spiritual initiation is going to leave you all alone out there in the universe, just floating around all by yourself. And why would you ever want to do that? It's like one of the last little traps. It's a very intricate story. We don't get to have time to go into today right now, but um this is exactly all the energy we're talking about. It's at the threshold. It's the threshold of and we're held in that threshold by our core wounds, which have to do with pattern over lifetimes, you know? And so, yeah, this rejection of the light is coming up so strong. And perhaps it's like I can feel it in my gut, like we've internalized it. Um, and that's that exile and not being able to get our needs met. And haven't we been living this out and silenced in our voice, not able to say what we think in order to get our needs met? I mean, it's all had to play out. It's all had to play out, and we are unwinding it. So that's hopeful. Um, Again, it comes back to this message of the expression is what heals all, of us bringing forward our light. And I know it's not easy. Um, and yet, we've gotta start seeing it's really hard because we know this spiritual concept that we're all one, but there's also, like, energies that aren't, like, just we're dealing with, and, um, how do we see everything as part of us, as part of this experience? And that's ultimately the key, that brings us to forgiveness and everything, and it brings us out of the wound of separation. and back into connection. Um, but it's really hard, and maybe this is our greatest challenge to be are we karmically surrounded by people? It's not just that we don't have supernova souls around us, but are we karmically surrounded by people who have persecuted us before? So we're like literally in their trap, not even realizing it because we're just used to it. And it might be that you've already worked things out with your family and your friends, but just your wider community, people you don't even know, who are like calling, like energetically having a problem with your light and who you are. Whew, that's heavy karma. And then our lights coming on. Do you see the dilemma? Like our lights coming on without us being able to, turn it down in the way we have. And so it's a very sticky situation. And yet it's like this is our way out of the trap. And we're getting out of the trap. I mean, the very first comments were like, what are we doing here? We're in like, and we have been in a loop, right? And that's the thing where we come to this authority like, wait a minute, I'm a sovereign human soul. I'm a sovereign human soul, and I will evolve beyond this point. I'm going to go back to the realms and the energies that actually suit me, you know? Like I'm in charge of my evolution and my reality, except for that that's part of the trap too. We're not going anywhere. We're bringing heaven here. We're taking back our world. And that's what gives this human souls that are not quite at the point of choosing ascension in this moment still an opportunity. I don't know exactly how that works out, but um very powerful. So I would like to let me know if you have any more specific questions. This individual human will thing though is the breakthrough for us. Like to be in your power. This recognition, and this came through again and again in the Edgar Casey readings, that this is the highest authority. So that the planets, the stars, like everything we're feeling, there's no greater influence on the human soul. I mean, there's no greater influence in the world than the human soul engaged in its will, especially the divine will. And this is where we say, our world now, our world right now. Our world, my world right now. And this is the anchoring in. This is what I felt like needed to happen today, this focusing. Just taking a moment to focus and recognize these forces that are trying to creep in and pull us into the lower games and just be like, no, this is what's real. This is what's true. This is my reality. And exercising that will, and it's so much easier together. And I think that it's really powerful to examine these deep griefs that are coming up around rejection, shame, exile, secrecy, and abandoning or abandonment by our tribe. Wow, supernova souls are all feeling this way. And it's kind of like, who's going to start? Who's going to start who's going to break through so that we can all come out and be who we really are? And we all do it together. We're doing it right now. It's happening. So let's just tap into this energy of basically I'm seeing this timeline, this beautiful timeline that just is like a ray of light. And that ray of light got has a little kink in it. And the kink happened at the last shift of ages. And we're going to just zoom into this kink. And personally, it's like I can see all of our timelines. Some of us more kinked up and some of us less kinked up, whether, depending on whether we incarnated at that particular time or a little before or a little after, what our experiences were. But um it's really cool because what we have today, right now, is an opportunity to get all of these timelines, all of our individual timelines lined up with the divine timeline. and unkinked. So I'm just going to examine the kink, and it is this energy of grief and regret and failure. And it's really important that we understand that there has been no failure. Yes, things went majorly to the dark side, but it's like those of us souls that have been here through this shift of ages and incarnated in the Piscean time have felt very abandoned and betrayed by each other, by the light, by God, because we went through some dark shit and now we come out of the wilderness. And so we're going to undo these kinks. And so just taking a few deep breaths and feeling yourself right here present in the moment. Just imagine on an exhale, you can put a root system down through your whole being, connecting into the earth. Feel the mother, mama growing up around you with this invitation. She's here holding you as her child. Taking a few deep breaths. There is a picture of in this period of time just after this, in the first couple hundred years of the Piscean age, this energy of exile, there's an energy of being alone, there's an energy of being um, not having any of your family and people around, and not having necessarily what you need. You know, it's kind of a picture of being an outcast. And so we're going to be unwinding this because it's almost like we're getting an opportunity to look into this dynamic. And the dynamic says that the pattern that was set out in the Piscean age was that the more light you had in your heart, the less resources you were able to accrue. Often, not all the time, but it's a poverty consciousness in the heart because of a feeling of failure towards the movement and your tribe. And there wasn't a failure. So we're just observing this twist on the timeline, this poverty consciousness. So a pattern got set into place, and that um, association with to be spiritual was to be in poverty. So we're going to be untwisting that one. To be spiritual, to be in the light was to be exiled. And then another one to be punished, to be in the light and to be of the light, express the light, you'd be punished. And just go ahead and receive an energetic wave to unwind these belief systems. They are connected with the heart and the third chakra and the area in between, which is the secret chakra. Right at the rib cage, it's like unwinding. And there's going from a tension or like a squeezing feeling is moving into a warmth, like a glow, a golden, like the warmth of a fire. And it's interesting because it's like from the outside, I'm seeing us look at this. It was a woman and she's kind of looking like a beggar. She's in a veil. She's kind of hidden. She's dark. She's shameful. She's cold. She's curled up. And the thing about it is that how could we want for anything with this light in our heart? How could she want for anything with this light in her heart? And there's a beautiful unwinding happening in these patterns. Just go ahead and receive an energetic wave to release belief systems and contractual arrangements around associations with being and expressing the light. Distortions that say those who express the light are in poverty, Those that express the light need to be exiled. Those that express the light need to be punished. And just receiving this is like a DNA activation, clearing, unwinding. Just go ahead and receive that energetic wave and watch that woman stand up from the street. All of a sudden, she's was completely warm with her own warmth, and she takes off the overcoat. It's like worn and has holes in it, and she just takes it off, and underneath she's got this gorgeous, beautiful, sparkly gown of light. And we're gonna follow her as she walks, like we're talking about going backwards through the story. And so we're following her as she's finding her way. All of a sudden, the path is lighting up with her steps, this golden road. And the golden road is leading back through time. It's so back through time, it's almost in the future. It's like this Lemurian city of light, but it's also that shift of ages time. And feel this feeling of coming to a community gathering and feeling that it's a gathering around us, a very safe location, and it's a gathering around celebrating this light that can be birthed in the human heart. And you can feel this warmth in your heart. You see this sparkling woman leading the way, and you follow. And so it's a festival of light, and everybody here is like committed to growing this light within. So it's completely safe, and it's what everything is about. There's abundance of resources, and yet the resources aren't really needed when you can create your own warmth and heat and nourishment by existing in the light. Take a few deep breaths, just feel this warm glow beginning to unwind in your heart. It's like a balm, it's like a warm, molten, golden energy, a deep settling in your heart. And come back, find yourself following this sparkling woman, leading you to this gathering of those that are called to anchor in the light. And just feel the excitement growing in your heart and your soul of coming back together with your people with full support, appreciation, and celebration of this light within you. Just feel yourself following this woman, sparkling woman, and this light is growing within yourself as well. And taking a few deep breaths, just breathing into it. And before you enter this gathering, this woman stops. She's like a guide for you. And she's asking you to, it's an opportunity to release any energy of grief or regret about how things played out in the Piscean age. Is there anger and resentment at your teachers? Is there guilt and grief carried by the community for a so-called failure in the way that things turned out? Because she says, look at the horizon, and she shows you, and it's almost a picture of like a sun so bright, it's like two suns coming up together. She says, look, nothing got off track. What if it's unfolding perfectly? And she says, it's up to you to stand up and step out of prison when you're ready, which is also into this golden light energy. So go ahead and feel yourself. It's like the door opened to this other reality of being home with your true core tribe of light, this incredible celebration and reunion. And so there's an energy of this fire, this golden light dissolving contractual arrangements. So at the center, there's a golden fire, and go to this fire. And here you can throw in any energies of contractual arrangements around being alone, being exiled or away from your tribe, and staying a secret, recognizing that they're no longer necessary, and just throwing those into the fire. This light can only be celebrated as we move forward from this point. Will you be a carrier of this light? You have been before. It's why you're here right now. Can you forgive your teachers, your guides, for feeling that they abandoned you? It was only for you to find your own way back to the light, and you made it. Feel in the celebration, there's a removal of any energies. They're just lifting off of any feelings of regret of this past age. And see yourself holding hands with these other beings of golden light, dancing around the golden fire, and just receive an energetic wave to reset your vibrational frequency to this energy. Just taking a few deep breaths. Safe, secure, supported. Everything at this gathering is about expanding and expressing this light. And it's absolutely celebrated as a beautiful thing. Just taking a few deep breaths. There's an energy around saying yes to this timeline activation, timeline reset, and saying yes to your role. Some begrudgingly, but it's like saying yes to your role as a keeper of this light, as a torch. That it's time to go forth and shine. And although there might be residues of judgment energies, nothing can actually touch you. What is it like to live in this energy of this timeline reset, in the golden light of full permission, to have the balm of warmth, Christ consciousness of spirit in your heart, living your own source of light and warmth and resources? Are you ready to be free? Go ahead, receive this energetic wave, saying yes. If you're ready to receive this into your being, all of your bodies reset to this vibrational frequency of this sparkly golden light. Anchoring into the earth right here, right now. Can you give yourself permission to go forth in celebration that you hold you as a container, a holy grail, carrying this light within you with full permission to express? Just taking a few deep breaths. And receiving this energetic wave, resetting your whole being to this vibrational frequency of full permission and support and celebration of the light within you. As you leave this gathering, you can take with you this energy of support. It looks like even stepping with consciousness on the earth can access this golden light, this memory of the energy of support that's here for you in your full expression. You're so busy celebrating and expressing this light that you don't even notice the dark paradigms or agendas or the judgment energies. They just bounce right off. You're too busy moving forward in full permission because now where you go, you bring with this whole group of light workers. You're committed to them and they're committed to you. The beautiful thing about this gathering is like there is no hierarchical, like everyone is at their own place of bringing the light in, but there's no judgment or no level to experience. It's all a celebration. And by being around each other, the permission to increase this capacity to hold this spiritual light um, is profoundly amplified. So just add that into your timeline reset, receiving that energetic wave that you move forward with continual support and love and celebration for the light that you are. Carried with you in your field, and just anchoring this vibration into the earth right here, right now, in present time. And with that, there was this beautiful feeling of coming home right here, right now, for the perfect energy of a timeline restart, reset. That now your whole field, which means everything around you, must come into compliance with you in being in full support and celebration of the light that you are. You grow this feeling by expressing this feeling, claiming this feeling with literally every step you take on the earth very deliberately. You have just arrived back home in your ideal timeline. Just taking a few deep breaths as you begin to complete your process, your meditation, just honoring this sacred moment together. There's an energy of this magnetic pull into this experience, into your body, and the effect of that calling all parts of yourself back home. We've all been living fractured existences, and now it's time to be completely present here with every breath and every step, and the energy of support and celebration for the light that you are. For that's your role, to be a beacon, a torch, leading the way for humanity. And what a glorious adventure lies ahead. So just feel yourself making your way back. Perhaps this golden woman is holding your hand, guiding you back home into your everyday consciousness, into your body, into your present time, right here, right now. Feel the release of all of those belief systems and blockages around being abandoned or failing, or all the energies that came up around the Piscean age. It's just completely released. No more need to play out the sacrifice. and the punishment and the energies of persecution. This light is so strong and powerful that it's impossible to do anything to you. This is what Jesus really wanted for us, not to be persecuted, but to be able to overcome all. Stand up in the true light that we are, overcoming the human story. Nobody ever thought that it was appropriate or correct for you to suffer. And yet, this story played out in order for us to proclaim the light for all right now. This is why it happened this way. Exactly what we were talking about from the very beginning, that we take all souls with us. That's why. And the nightmare comes to a close now, and we move into the celebration. And just taking a few deep breaths, coming back into your body, becoming aware of your physical body, beginning to complete your meditation, feeling with you the presence of your golden light worker team that's just never going to leave you. They're in your field, they're part of you, with complete support and celebration for who you are and who you are returning to and becoming again. And when you're ready, wiggling your fingers and toes, and go ahead and come out of meditation. Wow. Well, thanks so much for being here for that. And I thought it was really powerful to explore these twists and turns in our timeline. And we kind of unpacked a whole bunch of stuff and we released it. But I think it's really important to make a note of what we found that was a little bit surprising, like a feeling of those of us who incarnated and went through persecutions feeling so abandoned by spirit, by God, you know? And then those that say Yeshua and the the family, the closest, feeling that they somehow failed, in for things to have to get so dark and what's been done in the name of the Christ light, like a regret for bringing it in the first place. So it's so powerful to see at the end that it was like, oh no, 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 we went through all that for now. And this absolute confirmation that we wouldn't have gone through all that for now if we weren't taking every human soul with us. Every single one. That's why this is so intense. It's complete game over for the parasitic forces. They can exist in another realm, but they won't have any food. And so stand strong in who you are, because wow. And I just thought, the shift of like just recognizing, like, why am I so, like, the poverty thing and the rejection and all this? It's kind of like, what we've all supernova souls gone through our lives, like, what is my problem? Like, why can't I just function and take care of myself in the 3D reality? It's like, oh man. And just understanding these deep seated belief systems around feeling abandoned and failing in our mission in this past eight, you know? And like the burden and the regret in maybe even Yeshua himself around how much torture and pain there's been, because of that story. And yet we're all receiving, this is part of the message that I got before, like, we are incarnating Christ consciousness, like we are his body. Not that he's not here with the body necessarily, like I think that's could be true too, but with this Christ consciousness, it's like we're all incarnating this, like, as a group, what one person showed us, And it makes sense that it's those souls that were really connected to that event at the last shift of ages. But this connects to all these different periods of time as well. So if you didn't feel totally connected to that particular story, although sometimes that happens because you were so connected to it and it's blocked, right? But there's a lot of like grief and regret clearing out that has allowed that timeline twist to still be there, of like being like, and this place we're at. And this is the Venus kite that we're experiencing today. It's like lift up out of that story. Lift up out of the stories of the Piscean agency that like it's all worth it. Now is different. And it's so incredibly glorious that you are going to be blinded by the light. And all the darkness is just like, it just, I don't know how to say, like, it's worth it. It doesn't make sense, but it does. So anyway, I feel better. I was just really feeling the collective energy. And so, yeah, I think we'll go ahead and Heavenly says, I feel like an orphan in my life. Yeah, that's how all of us have felt, like dropped off on the wrong planet. And don't know, it just feels like this timeline shift is about just it's like opening up this box of treasures of everything that's been stolen from us, being returned, and very, very powerful. So, no, I don't think that it's Yeshua's fault at all, but I was just kind of exploring these levels of regret, that um like just these belief systems that are were kind of surprising to me to find in that um story, like all of this stuff that's bogged down the true light. And as we go to unleash it again, those things need to get resolved and worked out. So, yeah. Um, well, thank you so much for connecting with me today in these concepts, and happy November 4th. A very powerful day with this Venus fight. Venus is exactly opposite Neptune today. Had just had a trine with Uranus, now trying coming into trine with Pluto, lifting us up out of the stories of Piscean age, which so much had to do. I mean, really, all these feelings we're talking about the shame and regret, and that it's very connected to the energy. I mean, because then we didn't even talk about the whole Mary Magdalene thing and how what a powerful role she played, and yet then the feminine and her and the teachings and every woman suffered, after that, even though her story wasn't even told. And so there's just kind of a lot that wants to be brought to the light, and for our consciousness to be present with these concepts is really helpful, I think, because as we move forward to the truth disclosures that are necessary in our awakening, understanding the power of undoing. Basically, we've got to check out for real and face the corruption of the church, and how far away all churches, for the most part, not all, but like, have gotten away from the true teachings. And energy is that we're going to be coming back and wanting to go to church again, but it's different, and we're going to be meet in our houses. That this like we're not. It's like um and I think this is a lot of what supernova souls are feeling, like the secrecy and exile and being disconnected from your people, no one to pray and sing with. It's just not even allowed. It's not cool. And it's like, um, and so that's going to be turning around. And so, what about this? Like, what if we're going through this backwards? And that means we have a birth of the Christ consciousness. Then we have a crucifixion, which is of the dark, and a split of energies, of the cutting off of the lower frequency vibrations as we make a leap. And then we have the journey of um, sharing this light, educating people about the light and the teachings, and moving around together and activating, working with these sacred power spots on the earth and stuff. So just keep that in mind, that this strange loop of time is not, they want you to think you're stuck here forever, but it's not true. And we're so much more powerful than that. And what happens when, can you vibrate in that frequency of walking around with this warmth of golden balm within you? It's hard to argue and attack that. And that's kind of what it feels like in the Piscean age. It was like there was that glimpse of this Christ consciousness, but then anybody who got anywhere near it got immediately knocked down. So now we're like, how do we handle, accept, receive this light back? Especially feeling exiled in our own communities with those that seek to persecute us and our light coming on. There's nothing we can do about it. So, this should help reconcile some of those things. And then, those of us who resonate with these topics, like anchoring in, seeing these like um, golden boots, like that the woman had, and like kind of like sinking into the timeline, like anchoring in this magnetic golden light right here, right now, in your reality, right here, this moment, and experiencing that supernova souls opening their heart to this. We've already done this, we have it within us. It's right there. And it's so beautiful and glorious. So I hope that this helps for you and for our greater tribe and for the energies. So um Thank you for being here and for showing up. And I feel a great shift of energy and I appreciate it. I think we're all just all so sensitive to collective energies, and we got to be very deliberate. So I might do this again um, as it seems appropriate. And thank you so much also for your support. If you're a part of the Supernova Soul Tribe, it means so much to me. You can join for $10 or $20 a month and keep up on updates. And we're going to be doing a lot more interactive and connected stuff as we move into the new year, because we're moving into a new phase. This is it right here, right now. Are you ready to step out into it? Are you ready to own it? And the gremlins might come and challenge you, right? But you say, no, no, I felt it. I felt that. I felt this gathering. I felt this light growing in my heart as as I approached and returned to these people, and to this place, and to this energy that all supports this light and honors and celebrates. It's quite a turnaround from being completely exiled, rejected, and punished and persecuted, right? Now supported and celebrated. Whew, here we go. So thank you so much, Supernova Souls, and thanks for tuning in. I love you all so much, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon. See you for a video on Monday. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.